Welcome to Betrayal Narratives. In today's story, everything changed. The night my phone rang at 2:47 a.m., I had been home from deployment for only 11 days. After 8 months overseas doing work I can't even talk about. Not to my friends, not to my family, not even in the debriefing room I was finally supposed to breathe again. I had leave. I had time. And I had plans with my son, Ryder. We were supposed to go fishing that weekend. It's just a simple father-son trip. Something normal, something real. Something that reminded me the world still had soft places in it. But soft places don't last. When the call came through, the screen didn't show a name. Just unknown caller. Normally I wouldn't answer. Operational habits stay with you. But something in me reacted before my brain did. I picked up. "Is this Victor Brennan?" The voice was calm, professional. Too calm, too professional. "Yeah? Who's this?" "This is Mercy General Hospital in Richmond. Your son, Ryder Brennan, was brought in by ambulance approximately 40 minutes ago." My heart stopped. Actually stopped. The voice continued. "He sustained multiple gunshot injuries. Is currently in emergency surgery. Need to come immediately." The phone nearly slipped from my hand. Strange thing happened. Then, not panic, not hysteria. Training kicked in. It's that cold, steady thing the Navy drills into your bones. My voice came out level, controlled. "Is he alive?" "He is, but his condition is critical." I didn't remember hanging up. I didn't remember grabbing my keys. I just remember being in my truck, engine roaring, pavement flying under me as I sped toward Richmond like the world was on fire. The 2-hour drive became 90 minutes. I couldn't tell you a single thing I passed. It's just flashes of darkness, streetlights, the blur of highway lines. My hands were locked around the steering wheel so tight my knuckles felt carved from stone. And Ryder's face kept appearing in my mind, smiling, joking, taller than the last time I'd seen him. He'd hugged me at the airport 3 months earlier when I left for that deployment. "Be safe, Dad," he'd said. "Come back." I came back. But apparently the world hadn't waited for me. At 3:41 a.m., as the road curved toward Richmond, my phone rang again. This time her name appeared. Natalie, my ex-wife, Ryder's mother. I answered. What happened? She wasn't calm. Her voice was all panic and shaking breaths. "Victor, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Happened." "It was Dominic," she choked out. "They got into an argument and Dominic—" He pulled out his gun. Dominic, her new husband. Married 8 months after our divorce was finalized. A man with money, with connections, with the kind of arrogance you can smell the second he walks into a room. I'd met him 3 times. All 3 times I'd felt something off. The way he looked at people, the way he treated Natalie, the way he measured everyone in the room to see who he could control. But not once did I imagine he'd hurt Ryder. "He said it was self-defense," she whispered. "He said Ryder came at him with a knife." My grip tightened. My voice didn't rise. "And you believe him?" Her breath broke. I don't know. I heard them arguing, loud, and then I heard gunshots. I ran in and Ryder was on the floor and Dominic was holding the gun in Victor. I don't know what happened. There was so much blood I hung up. Not because I didn't care what she had to say, 'cause hearing her panic wasn't helping me reach my son any faster. And right then, every second mattered. When I pulled into the hospital lot, I parked directly in the ambulance lane. Alarms were going off somewhere behind me. I didn't care. I ran through the sliding doors, the smell of antiseptic slamming into me like a memory of every military hospital I'd ever been in. "Ryder Brennan," I said to the front desk nurse. "Gunshot victim? Where is he?" She typed quickly. "Are you family?" "I'm his father," she pointed. "3rd floor? Surgical wing? But sir, he's still in surgery." I was already gone. Kate took the stairs 3 at a time, reached the surgical wing, found the waiting area, and there she was. Natalie, she looked like she had been shattered and taped back together. Eyes trembling, hands, makeup smeared across her cheeks. She stood up as soon as she saw me. Her lips parted like she wanted to speak. maybe to apologize again, but I walked straight past her and went to the nurse's station. "My son," I said. "Status." The nurse, older.com compassionate, met my eyes. "Still in surgery. The lead surgeon will update you once they stabilize him." "How bad?" She hesitated. "Multiple wounds. He lost a significant amount of blood. He made it here alive." "That matters." Her voice faded behind me as I turned back toward Natalie. She looked up at me, tears streaming. "Victor, where is he? Who?" "Dominic." She swallowed hard. "Downstairs talking to the police. He's saying he's shot in self-defense." I stared at her. "Did you see a weapon?" "No. I just heard yelling and then gunfire. And when I ran in, I cut her off." "How many shots before you ran in?" She blinked. "What? You said you heard gunshots. How many before you ran into the room?" I don't know. 3, maybe 4. It happened fast." I nodded slowly. Not at her answer, at what it confirmed for me. Someone who fires in panic usually fires once. Maybe twice. Someone who fires repeatedly, rhythmically, deliberately. That's not panic. That's intent. Ours passed like a slow-motion nightmare. Natalie sat across from me, silent, crying occasionally, wiping her face and starting all over. I didn't speak to her again. I stared at the door Ryder was behind. I kept replaying the same question in my head. Why would Dominic shoot him? And why was there suddenly a story about a knife? Detectives came. Young guy named Blake. Older partner named Chen. They asked if Ryder had ever been violent. If he'd ever had issues at home. If he'd ever threatened anyone. No, I answered each time. My son is not a violent kid. Finally, at 6:43 a.m., the doors opened and the surgeon stepped out. He looked tired. He looked like he'd been through war. I knew that look. "He made it through surgery," he said. "It's critical, but stable. One bullet is too close to the heart to remove right now, but we stopped the internal bleeding. He's in ICU. Oh wait, didn't he realize I'd been carrying slid off my shoulders just enough for me to breathe again. Can I see him?" "Yes, one at a time." Natalie looked at me. "You go, please. He'll want you first." I didn't waste time. I followed the doctor through the hallways until he guided me to a room. When I walked in, my world pulled tight around me. My son lay on the bed, pale, covered in bandages, connected to machines breathing for him. He looked small, too small, like the little boy he used to be before high school, before responsibilities, before life got complicated. I pulled a chair close and sat. I took his hand carefully. "Hey, buddy," I whispered. "Dad's here. I'm not going anywhere." His fingers twitched, then his lips parted, barely a breath, barely a sound. "Dad said you'd never find out." The words were faint, fading as quickly as they came. But they hit me like a hammer. "He said you'd never find out." "Find out what? About what? About who?" A nurse entered, checking monitors, adjusting tubes. I didn't move. I just stared at Ryder, at those words replaying in my mind. When she finished, the nurse hesitated. "You're his father." "Yes. I was on the ambulance last night." "Your son was conscious for a moment?" "He kept saying something." My breath paused. "What did he say?" "Check the basement." He repeated it over and over. Then he lost consciousness. "Check the basement." Around RAM, my phone buzzed. It was a text from an unknown number. One sentence. "I know who shot your son." Before I could reply, another message arrived. "Meet me. Come alone." There was an address, a parking lot near the old shipyard. A place people avoided at night. A place where no one asked questions. My instincts weren't screaming danger. They were whispering something different. Opportunity? Someone wanted to talk. But not where cameras could watch. Someone knew something but didn't want to be seen with me. Someone didn't trust anyone else. I grabbed my jacket, slipped my phone into the inside pocket, and stepped outside into the cold air. My truck engine came to life, and I drove through the quiet streets. Each intersection getting darker, each mile taking me closer to the water. When I reached the shipyard, the air smelled like rust and salt. The wind carried the sound of metal clinking against empty containers. A single streetlight flickered overhead, casting a pale glow on the ground. That's when I saw someone sitting on the hood of a car, hood up, hands jammed in pockets. Legs swinging slightly, like they were trying to keep calm. As I got closer, the figure spoke. "You really came." The voice was thin, nervous, young. I stepped close enough to see their face. It was a boy, maybe 17. Skinny, pale eyes darting around like he wasn't used to being outside this late. "You texted me," I said calmly. "Who are you?" He swallowed hard. "My name's Tyler. I live near your ex-wife." "No, Michael." I didn't say anything. I didn't move. I wanted him to feel safe enough to keep going. Tyler rubbed his palms against his jeans. "Michael's been different lately. Angry, talking to people who don't come around unless they want trouble. He talks big, you know. Says he's untouchable because everyone thinks he's this loving stepdad. Says people are scared of him." I watched him closely. He wasn't lying. His voice shook at all the right moments, the kind of shaking that comes from fear, not from acting. "What does this have to do with my son?" Kai asked slowly. Tyler lowered his voice. "Your son wasn't supposed to get shot." The wind stopped for a second. Even the metal stopped clinking. "What do you mean?" I asked. Tyler glanced around as if someone might jump out from behind a container. "Michael's been in trouble with some guys. I don't know who. But I heard him yelling on the phone a few days ago. Something about someone messing with him. Something about paying for disrespect. Kept saying, 'I'll send a message.'" My heartbeat didn't speed up. It slowed. A dangerous kind of calm washed over me. "Are you saying my son was mistaken for someone else?" I asked quietly. Tyler hesitated. "I think so. I heard him say the guy rides a bike. Your son? He rides a bike too, right?" "At night sometimes. He did. He always did. He liked clearing his head by riding around the neighborhood." Tyler looked at the ground. I didn't know what he meant until I saw the news. That's when I put it together, and Michael. He didn't look shocked. He looked scared. "And why are you telling me this?" I asked. Tyler breathed out shakily. "Because I know what Michael can do. And because I saw him last night." My jaw tightened. Where Tyler's voice dropped. "Outside your house." A cold wave rolled through my chest. "He didn't knock," Tyler added softly. "He just stood there watching your place, okay? Like he was waiting to see if you left the hospital." I didn't move. I didn't speak. But inside, something sharp settled into place. This wasn't just an accidental shooting. This wasn't a coincidence. This wasn't a case of the wrong place at the wrong time. This was a man who had something to hide. A man who was afraid of the truth. A man who wasn't finished. I finally spoke. My voice was quiet. "Tyler, thank you. You did the right thing." He nodded nervously and backed up. I don't want to be involved. Just thought you should know." He hurried back to his car, and within seconds he was gone. I stood alone in that empty shipyard, the wind blowing through my jacket, the streetlight flickering above me. And in that moment, I made a silent promise. Not as a Navy SEAL, not as a trained marksman, not as a man who had seen war, but as a father. I promised that I would protect my son. I promised that no one would hurt him again. And I promised that the truth, every last piece of it, would come out, no matter what it took. The next morning, I went straight to the hospital. My son was still unconscious, but the doctor said his condition was stabilizing. I stood beside him, one hand resting gently on his arm, listening to the soft beeping of the machines. Every rise and fall of his chest felt like a gift I wasn't sure I deserved. I stayed with him for an hour before Emily arrived. She looked like she hadn't slept either. Her eyes were swollen, her hair tied back quickly, her hands shaking as she took off her coat. When she saw me, she hesitated, like she didn't know whether to apologize or defend herself. "I need to talk to you," I said quietly. She nodded, guilt flickering across her face. "I thought you might." We stepped into the hallway. The morning sun leaked through the blinds, casting long stripes of light across the floor. She crossed her arms as if trying to hold herself together. "What happened last night?" T whispered. I told her everything about the messages, the meeting, the boy who came forward, the things he overheard, the details that matched too perfectly to be coincidence. I didn't accuse her, didn't raise my voice, just told her the truth, piece by piece. By the time I finished, her face had lost all color. He wouldn't, she said, but her voice broke in the middle. "Michael wouldn't do something like that?" "You saw him," I said softly. "You saw how he reacted. You know him better than anyone." She covered her mouth as tears spilled down her cheeks. "He told me. He told me someone threatened him. He said he needed to scare someone." But I never thought she couldn't finish. She leaned against the wall, sobbing quietly. And suddenly everything made sense. She wasn't covering for him. She was terrified of him. "Emily," I said gently, "I need you to be honest with me. Has he ever threatened you?" She closed her eyes. Her breathing trembled. "He never hit me. But sometimes he'd say things. Things like, 'You don't know what I'm capable of,' or 'You think he can protect you.' He gets angry so easily." I thought it was stress. I thought it would pass. She looked at me with eyes full of regret and fear. "I didn't think he'd hurt my son, our son." A nurse walked past and we stepped aside. Emily wiped her tears, trying to regain some control. "What do we do?" she whispered. I exhaled slowly. "First, you tell me where he is." She hesitated, not because she didn't know, but because she was afraid of what I'd do when I found him. "He went to his brother's garage," she finally said. "The one near the highway. He goes there when he's trying to hide." I nodded. "I'll handle it," I said. When I turned to walk away, she grabbed my arm. "Please, don't do anything that puts you in danger." I looked her in the eyes. "Emily, the most dangerous thing in this situation is letting a man like him think he can get away with this." I left the hospital and drove to the garage. It was a rundown building surrounded by junk cars and tools scattered like debris from a storm. The metal doors were half open, and inside the echo of clanking metal rang out. Michael was there, alone. He was leaning over a workbench, cleaning something in his hands, moving nervously, his shoulders tense. When he saw me, he froze. "What are you doing here?" he asked, his voice trying to sound strong but failing. I stepped inside slowly, calm, controlled. "We need to talk." His jaw flexed. "About what?" "You were outside my house 2 nights ago," I said flatly. He blinked too fast. "No, I wasn't." "You called someone. You said you needed to send a message. You said the guy rides a bike." Michael swallowed hard. "You don't know what you're talking about?" "Say his name, Michael. Whose message were you sending?" He looked away, just for a moment, but it was enough. The truth was already written across his face. "You didn't mean to hit my son," I said. "But you did." He slammed his hand against the workbench. "I didn't shoot him," he snapped. "I told them to scare the guy. Just scare him. He wasn't supposed to get hurt." I felt a cold weight settle in my chest. "So you admit it?" Michael's eyes widened as he realized what he'd said. "You can't prove anything," he muttered. "I don't need to," I said quietly. "But you will." The words hung in the air like a blade. Michael stepped back, panic setting in. "You think you can just walk in here and talk to me like that? You think being some big hero gives you the right?" I cut him off. "I'm not here as a Navy SEAL. I'm here as a father." He didn't understand what that meant, not until I stepped closer. Not until he saw that calm in my eyes. The calm you learn when you've been trained your entire life to control yourself even when everything around you erupts. "I'm giving you one chance," I said. "Turn yourself in. Tell the police the truth." He stared at me, trembling, trying to calculate his next move. But I saw it before he did. The decision forming behind his eyes. The desperation. The fear. He lunged toward a drawer. For a moment, everything slowed. My instincts sharpened. My breathing steadied. The world narrowed into a single motion, his hand reaching, my body reacting. I stepped forward, grabbed his wrist, twisted, pinned him against the workbench before he even knew what had happened. The drawer flew open, revealing a metal tool, not a weapon, but enough to hurt someone. He struggled, but he wasn't trained. Not for this, not for someone like me. "Let go," he yelled. "Confess," I said, tightening my grip just enough to stop his movement. He broke completely. His whole body sagged under the weight of the truth he'd been hiding. "I didn't mean to hit the kid," he cried. "I thought he was that guy. I didn't mean to." There it was, the confession. I let go, and he collapsed to the floor, shaking. "I'm calling the police," I said. "And you're going to tell them exactly what you told me." He didn't argue. Not anymore. His spirit had cracked. I stepped outside, dialed 911, and gave them the address. They arrived within minutes. Michael was taken away in handcuffs, still shaking, still crying, still trying to explain himself. But explanations didn't matter anymore. Justice did. When I returned to the hospital, Emily was sitting beside our son, holding his hand gently. She looked up at me with a question in her eyes. "It's over," I said. She exhaled a breath she'd been holding for months. Weeks passed. My son woke up, slowly recovered. The doctors said it was a miracle supported by surgery, luck, and the stubborn heartbeat of a kid who refused to give up. One afternoon, as I sat beside him, he opened his eyes and whispered, "Dad, did they catch him?" I brushed his hair back gently. "Yeah," I said softly. "They did." He nodded once, closed his eyes, and drifted back to sleep. And that was the moment I realized something important. People think being a Navy SEAL is about strength or discipline or tactics, but it's not. It's about knowing what matters, knowing who you protect, knowing when to fight, and knowing when to walk away. I looked at my son, breathing peacefully, and made myself a promise. No matter how hard things get, no matter how dark the world becomes, no matter what tries to break us, I will always protect him. Always, at any cost. This time I didn't whisper it.